Welcome back to Saxon Math. This is Lesson 30, Least Common Multiple and Reciprocals. It's a new concept. A number that is a multiple of two or more numbers is called a common multiple of those numbers. Here we show some multiples of 2 and 3 and have circled the common multiples. So here you have multiples 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. You see it goes on to infinity. Multiples of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21 on to infinity. Multiples are different than factors. We've been covering factors. Remember, factors were like if we were to look at the factors of 3, remember that would be simply 1 and 3 because it's a prime number. If we were talking about factors of 2, that would simply be 1 and 2 because it's a prime number. So factors are different than multiples. Multiples are counting by that amount. So we see that 6, 12, and 18 are common. So the word common is just meaning that it's the same. They're the same multiples in both 2 and 3. Since the number 6 is the least of these common multiples, it is called the least common multiple. So sometimes that's abbreviated LCM for least, which means the smallest, common, which means in the same, and multiple, which is like the number that you're multiplying or counting by. This would be like 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, 3 times 4. So you can see that. So what's the least common multiple of 3 and 4? So the multiples of 3 would be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. And if I went on to infinity, multiples of 4 would be 4, 8, 12. I don't have to go any further. Why? Because I noticed that there's something in common already. 12. I could go on to infinity with counting by 4s, or just recognize, oh, that's the smallest one that they have in common. So the multiples of those would go on, and I could see that there's going to be more numbers that they have in common, but I'm looking for the smallest. And the least common multiples of 3 and 4 is 12. If we went further, we would see that it would be 24 as well as a common multiple. This is just a common multiple, but it is not the least common multiple. The LCM of both 3 and 4 is 12. So what is the LCM of 2 and 4? So here's the multiples of 2 and 4. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 on to infinity. Multiples of 4, 4, 8, 12, 16. Look, all of these are common. Common, 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 common. The least common multiple is going to be 4. So you're looking at the smallest one that they have in common together. So reciprocals are two numbers of whose product is 1. For example, the numbers 2 and 1/2 are reciprocal because 2 times 1/2 equals 1. So if you were to look at it like this, they're reciprocals. 2 times 1/2 is 1 because 2 over 1 times 1 over 2 ends up being 2 over 2, and that ends up being 1 because 2 divided by 2 is 1. These are considered reciprocals, 2 and 1/2. Those are both reciprocals of each other. We say that 2 is the reciprocal of half and that half is the reciprocal of 2. Sometimes we want to find the reciprocal of a certain number. One way we will practice finding the reciprocal of a number is by solving equations like this. 3 times what will equal 1? Well, the reciprocal of 3 will get you to 1. So the number that goes in the box is 1/3 because 3 times 1/3 is 1. 1/3 is the reciprocal of 3. If we took 3 times 1/3, we would get 3/3. And 3/3 is the same as 1 because 3 over 1 is times 1 over 3 would be 3 over 3. And so that's the reciprocal. Reciprocals also answer questions like this. How many quarters are in 1? The answer is the reciprocal of 1/4, which is 4. So if you were to look at like 1 whole, let's say it's how many quarters are in 1, you can see that there's 4 of them. There's 1/4 here. This is 1/4. 1/4 in this one. This is considered 1/4 as well. So you can see there's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fractions have 2 terms, the numerator and the denominator. To form the reciprocal of fraction, we reverse the terms of the fraction. So for example, 3/4, the reversed of that would be 4/3. The new fraction is 4/3 is considered the reciprocal. If we multiply 3/4 times 4/3, we see that the product is going to be 12/12, which equals 1. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 3 is 12. The reciprocal equals 1. So how many 2/3 are in 1? So to find the number of 2/3 in 1, you just need to find the reciprocal of 2/3. The easiest way to find the reciprocal is just to reverse the positions of 2 and the 3. The reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. So we would convert 3/2 if we want to 1.5, but we usually write the reciprocals as fractions rather than mixed numbers. So how many 2/3 are in 1? The answer would be 3/2. Let's look at another example. What number goes into the box to make the equation true? So 5/6 times what will equal 1? 5/6 is multiplied by its reciprocal, the product is going to be 1. So the answer is the reciprocal of 5/6, which is 6/5. When we multiply 5/6 by 6/5, we get 30/30. The fraction 30/30 is the same as 1. So 5/6 is what would, or 6/5 would be what would be in the box to make this true. 30/30 is the same as 1. What's the reciprocal of 5? Well, recall that the whole number can be written as a fraction, so we could have 5/1 is the same as 5, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's equal. Let me take that away. The reciprocal is not necessarily equal. It is just that. It is a reciprocal. So what's the reciprocal of 5? The reciprocal of 5 would be 1/5. Okay, so 5 can be written as 5/1, which means 5 wholes, and reversing the positions of the 5 and the 1 gives you the reciprocal of 5, which is 1/5. This makes sense because 1/5, 5 of them make 1 whole, and 1/5 of 5 is 1. So if you were to make 5 1/5, you'd make 1 whole, and 1/5 of 5 is going to be 1, because if you had 1/5 and you had 5 of them, you would make 1 whole. So you can see the reciprocal is just the reverse. So let's find this. What's the least common multiple of each pair of numbers? So for 6 and 8, the multiples of 6, let me list them here, would be 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 35, 42, and it goes on to infinity. 8 would be 8, 16, 24. So it looks like the lowest or the least common one that they have would be 24. The LCM equals 24 in this case. Okay, and then letter B, 3 and 5. Let me just list those here. So the multiples of 3 would be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and it'd go on to infinity. And the multiples of 5 would be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and it goes on to infinity from there. I don't see anything other than 15 being a common multiple at this point, and that's also the smallest one. If my list was bigger, I might find some more that they have in common, but that would have to be the answer. So the least common multiple equals 15. And letter C, go ahead and answer the least common multiple of 5 and 10. So the multiples of 5 would be 5, 10. I'm not going to go any further. Multiples of 10 would be 10, 20. I don't really have to go any further because I recognize something right away. I'm like, oh yeah, 10 and 10. So the least common multiple of 5 and 10 happens to be 10. Write the reciprocal for each of these numbers. So letter D, go ahead. The reciprocal of 6 would be 1/6. The reciprocal of E, 3/2. The reciprocal of F, 5/8. The reciprocal of 1/3, 3/1. All right, let's look at letter H. For problems H through K, find the number that goes into the box that makes the equation true. So let's just look at letter H here. 3/8 times what equals 1? Well, it's 3/8 times its reciprocal. The reciprocal, and let me just write this over here, the reciprocal would just be the reverse of those numbers. 8/3 would be the answer for that one. Letter I. What's the reciprocal of 4, basically? 4 times what will get you to 1? This one should be 1/4 because this would be 4/1 if you were looking at a whole number. Letter J, what's the reciprocal that you would multiply 1/6 by to get to 1? The answer would be 6. 6/1. Letter K, 7/8 times what reciprocal of it would equal 1? Should be 8/7. Should be the reciprocal. And letter L, how many 2/5 are in 1? So what is the reciprocal of 2/5? 5/2. And then letter M, how many 5/12 are in 1? Again, what's the reciprocal of 5/12? It'd be 12/5. Okay, thank you for watching, and make sure you guys do all your math 1 through 30 during math class tomorrow.